as an organizer, one of the things that I really, I'm not comfortable unless I know where the ground is. And that ground is the real political reality of what we're struggling with, because, you know, envisioning is really important, and you can't really change until you can dream the change, but actually you have to start the change as well. And so I'm really interested in what are those steps that you can take to start the change. Now, if you've all heard me speak before, some of you have. By the way, how many people are here from Michigan? Raise your hand. All right. This is good. This is our future. You know that I really love this Bill McDonough line. And Bill McDonough says, if you want to go to Canada, but you're driving towards Mexico at 100 miles an hour, slowing down to 30 won't really help. You're still going the wrong direction. And in this move towards a sustainable economy, towards resilience, eco-villages, all the words, all the things you've heard here in the last day and a half, there's a great deal of slowing down to 30. Because turning around involves fundamental changes in values, and that's not really very comfortable. And so there's a kind of a Parade magazine reality, or if we were in Russia in the 19th century, a Potemkin village reality of this change. It looks like we're doing stuff, it's kind of green, it's kind of cool, but it's not, it's just slowing down to 30. We're being less bad instead of being good, as McDonough would say. And so I want to start to talk about I'm going to talk to you really straight about what's going on. Michigan is broken. We do not have the ability to make this change currently. And the reason is our legislative process is dominated by a few corporations. Term limits eliminated legislative memory amongst the elected officials from our state. And money is a big factor in politics. So what we have is a legislature that doesn't really know what it's doing because it hasn't been there long enough to learn, being dictated to by a few lobbyists representing the largest corporations in Michigan. Now, this state reflects the economy. I mean, the politics of the state reflects the economy. So we've had a command and control economy in Michigan. I really appreciated the comment last night by our Democratic Libertarian, or Libertarian Democrat, about is authoritarianism really the future of this change? And in fact, in Michigan, we have a command and control economy. We have an authoritarian public policy process with a few things on the margins, but basically, when we talk about energy, DTE, and consumers, they tell us what it's going to be. And we have to fight them in Lansing in order to get anything for that. And you look at wind. We're going to talk about wind after this session. You know, there's a lot of stuff in wind. Hey, we got wind, invest. Look at the contracts that farmers are supposed to sign. The contracts are just the worst contracts that you could possibly imagine. Why anybody would sign a contract to put a wind generator on your farm, even for $25,000 a generator, is beyond me, because they're just don't make sense. And they're supported by the Farm Bureau, who's never taken this cause up to defend farmers, because they are part of the problem in Lansing. So we have a failing political system. We don't have the ability to make the changes that we need right now. And we're going to have an election in 2010 in which we're going to elect 32 of 37 senators are term limited, and I think 65 of 110 representatives are term limited, and of course the governor and lieutenant governor. So we are just going to have a massive change in government. Memory is going to be lost. And because it's a hugely expensive election, the lobbyists and the corporations and the special interests have a huge say in what the future of our state. And that's not good news for us, unfortunately. That's the truth. We, in the British term, are buggered. Now, so what do we do about that? Well, one of the things we don't do is we don't have sort of pretend public policy forums to recast when basically the interests are all the same at the table. But one of the things we can do is do what Patty just suggested. Talk about and create local food systems. Now, there's many reasons to do that, but mainly as an organizer, because it's possible. Because it doesn't require us to change everything in Lansing in order to take the first step. So, the reason that we can do that is because food is not capital intensive. It doesn't require investment of tens of millions of dollars to make a change. It can be $2,000 can make a change in a farm. So so it doesn't require a lot of capital. That's good news for us. We still have a highly diverse food system in Michigan. Over 200 crops are grown commercially. In Iowa, this number is really stunning to me. 93% of all the cropland is devoted to corn and soybeans. You want to talk about monoculture, it's beyond monoculture. And the other thing that's really, and this is perhaps the most important political fact, and I'm talking about politics here now, is a food system change is not driven by farmers, it's driven by consumers. For the first time, Wendell Berry says eating is an agricultural act. He's right. Consumers are beginning to stand up and take control of the food system. That's pretty amazing. And it's resulted in two historic, although I bet you virtually none of you know about it, actions in the last 2 years in Michigan. In February 2008, fluid milk in Michigan could not be produced using RBGH, recombinant bovine growth hormone, which is it's an artificial stimulation of production in a cow called Posilac if it's made by Monsanto. That came about not because the scientists testified and the real science came out and the good science came out. We made the decision in a public policy forum. Didn't come out because basically we love animals and we didn't want to see them suffer. It came about because 4 of the largest grocery chains went to the Michigan Dairy Association and said, February 1, 2008, we're not going to buy any fluid milk from you made with Posilac. And the dairy said, oh, show us the science. Oh, God, it's the end of the world. They made the change. This year, just recently, the Humane Society of the United States won an agreement about the size of cages for egg-laying hens. And again, it was the end of the world. Oh, my God. Is government trying to tell us socialism, abominism, whatever they called it? They made the change because this is a business, not an ideology. And consumers wanted it, and they made the change. And it was over the objection of virtually all the interests in Lansing. So that's a very hopeful sign. And this change is inevitable that Patty's talking about. And it's inevitable for 4 reasons. First, industrial agriculture depends on cheap oil, which we know is going away. It depends on a stable climate, which unfortunately is also going away. And it depends on plentiful water, which we have now in the Midwest, and particularly in Michigan, the Great Lakes state. But it is a reality that could change because as the earth dries up in the climate change, we are going to become the target of a lot of people who want our water. But that's a different conversation. And the final piece of it is that industrial agriculture depends on public policy to continue to operate. And in fact, Lansing has tried to subvert this local revolution. In 2008 or 2007, Senate Bill 777, not very lucky, but it's called the Monsanto Bill. It basically banned the ability of counties to control seeds in their county. The state preempted that control. So if I wanted to have a GMO-free county and crop production in Muskegon County where I live, that was now illegal. What they're doing is they're using public policy to preempt our ability to make these local decisions. That's what's going on in Lansing right now. This is a really critical moment in our history. And this critical moment, there's actually a critical place where this change is happening. And it's in farmers markets.